Hello, GM everybody. Welcome to the Product and Creative Services Workstream office hours. There is a Zoom link in the stage chat for anybody who wants to follow along with us. And I am going to be sharing my screen in that Zoom link. So. Okay, hopefully you guys can see my screen. Today's agenda. So if you guys came to our last office hours, we did a deep dive into a lot of in-flight and upcoming features for the new web app. And we did a deep dive into the specs for a lot of those features and projects. This week, we are going to show you some of the UI UX we've been working on and some cool design stuff and focus more on the graphic side of things. But first, I'm going to go over the roadmap with you guys and show you some updates and go over some changes to some things in flight. I'm going to go over some staking UI changes to correspond with the UI updates that just went live on the new web app. And Hoff is going to show you guys, he worked on there's going to be a new settings component inside the web app. There's going to be a Fox farming call out, and then we have TX history, which he showed a little bit before, but now we have some filters, and that's just gotten blown out a little bit more. So we thought we'd show you guys the progress on that. Beard's going to talk through some design guidelines we're putting together and how we're using Figma as we ramp up with the amount of bounties that we've been trying to drive forward. We have been doing strong due diligence to make sure that as any outside design teams work through UX, UI for any bounty features that they're working on, that they have the design guidelines they need in order to execute everything on brand in accordance with our web app. And then Gray Machine has been working on some cool stuff. So he's going to show us what he's been working on, and then show us this cool new graphic request process that he put together. So with that, I'm just going to dive right into it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand at any time or post your questions in the stage chat. So for those of you who haven't seen it, inside of our Notion, all of the work streams usually have a main page. So this is our main page, and this is where you can pretty much find everything going on inside the workstream, who the contributors are, what the products are, the roadmap, feature specs. So one of the things I wanted to go over with you guys today is the roadmap, which we kind of touch on every office hours. But one thing that was pointed out by DeFi Seth is that this is pretty much looks like just a massive list, which it is, and all of these features have various progress in flight. But one of the things that we actually did do was to, inside each of these, link out to the corresponding spec. So there's a little bit more detail there because we have a ton of specs for a ton of different features. And this just kind of helps keep everything, I guess, more cohesive when you're diving through stuff. So inside the timeline, anything that has a corresponding spec would be linked there. And then inside the spec, you can see all of the details of the feature, and then the links to the mockups. There's an overarching link, and then there'll be individual mockup links for each different component of the feature. And this is just to help with anybody who's interested in seeing where things are at or the different details around different features that are currently on the roadmap. So just going over this as usual, as you guys know, we have a lot of stuff in flight and then a lot of stuff that's just getting started. So for example, what I was just showing you guys, the keep key settings and keep key setup. So in part of sunsetting beta and getting to parity with beta, those keep key settings are super critical to get done. So we have basically handed this off to engineering at this point, and the keep key settings and keep key setup will now be built in the new web app. And that's a pretty major project, and it'll be really awesome to have in part of our goals to sunset beta. And then, as you guys know, staking on Cosmo and Osmo is currently underway, along with the Cosmos Osmosis trading coming up on the Cosmo spec. View a demo. This is one that's pretty awesome. This will allow any user that comes to the new web app to view a demo of the web app without connecting a wallet. So this is ready on the spec and design side. The engineers are doing a deeper dive to figure out the best way to execute this. And then hopefully in the next week or so, they will come to a conclusion, and then we'll be able to get that ready and hopefully get it live very soon. Foxy, as you guys know, that's a bounty that Toshi's been working on, and a lot of other people are helping out on that. That is definitely well underway, and we had the first no-go on that yesterday. Wallet Connect, this is awesome. This is a feature that's going to allow Wallet Connect inside of the ShapeShift web app. So there's two parts to that, and the first part, that part where users will be able to use Wallet Connect inside the web app, the spec is ready to go on that one. So we should be handing that one off to engineers next week. I don't want to go over every single thing in here because there's a lot on here, but feel free to always come in here at any time, see the status of something, dive into it, take a look. If you're interested in the spec and the details around any of those features, it's all in here. But if anybody has any specific questions about anything in flight, feel free to post it in the stage chat or jump up on stage. But we definitely have a lot of things in flight on the product side. A lot of these are being done as bounties through engineering, which is awesome. And then the next biggest thing that the core engineering team is going to work on after Cosmos is Thorchain, which is a big feature in getting to parity with the old web app on the new web app. So I'm going to stop there. Noah, is there anything that you think we should touch on that I haven't touched on?
No, that was pretty exhaustive. That was a good overview.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I could keep going because we have a lot of stuff, but I'm going to spare you guys all the details. But again, feel free to take a look at this. And at any time, you can always, if you're curious about something that's being developed, you can follow along on GitHub. If you're curious about anything on the product side, you can follow along here inside our Notion. And always feel free to put questions to us in the product public chat in Discord. Cool. So I am going to jump in to the next piece, which is some updates to the staking UI this will affect the staking UI for any staking that we integrate into the new web app. But because Cosmos and Osmos is first, I will show you guys where this is at. So some of you may have seen parts of this before, but as you know, the new web app has gone through some UI iterations. So I kind of wanted to show you how it's affecting the UI for some of these new features. So in this case, the user has Osmosis. They're staking their Osmosis. You can see the validators. So they have Osmosis staked on two separate validators, the APR, the staking amount, and then the rewards. So if a user was going to click on this, we have this nice new overview screen. So this UI was something that we were exploring with Foxy, and it ended up being pretty cool and super intuitive. So we took it and ran with it and decided to also use it for like all of these type of like staking or any other opportunities that we're going to have in the DeFi section. So all of the Yearn stuff will eventually follow this UI pattern as well. So this overview screen just gives you a nice snapshot of what's going on with your staking, so you can see the amount staked. And then please disregard the fact that the numbers don't match what you saw on the previous screen. This is just mock-up. And then the user has the rewards they can claim. So for those of you who are familiar with what's currently on the web app, this stepper it was on the left. This is getting moved to across the top because it's a more consistent UI pattern. And as the user is moving left to right through these screens, it just corresponds better and makes more sense that they would be also moving left to right in a stepper. So here you can see the user is they would claim their staking rewards. The first step is confirm, and then it just broadcasts the transaction. And the transaction would be broadcast and complete. So again, just showing you guys that this UI is changing. It will affect the Yearn integration as well. And then we're also currently doing usability testing on this for Foxy. And just another example of how that stepper looks in the UI. If when the user is staking, if they had, let's see if I can go back to the previous screen. So they have their amount, they confirm, and then they broadcast. So they always know. And for staking, it's not as complicated of a process, but some of these more elaborate integrations we're doing, could have multiple steps, and it just lets the user know what the process is and where in the process they are as they move through each of these opportunities within a protocol. Okay, I'm going to stop there and just see if there's any questions in the stage chat. Nope. Right. Cool. I'm going to, I guess, stop blabbing and pass it off to Hoff. He's going to show us what he's been working on for the new web app, the new settings section, and some other stuff.
All right. Sorry about that. As again on the stage. If you guys got your Zoom, I'm going to share my screen. Alrighty. So a few things. Let me know if you guys can see my screen. Sure you can.
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So this first screen, we added this just a really simple call out on the earn section of the current web app. So earn 80%. I just threw 80 in there because it's close to where the APR is at this moment. There's the asterisk at the bottom. We just have the same legal copy that we currently have on ShapeShift.com. So just reusing that. So 80% APR by farming your ETHFox liquidity pool tokens. That's the same copy we already use on ShapeShift.com. So we just pulled that. And then if you start farming, it'll take you to the .com page where you could do all that. Pretty straightforward. That. Move on to, well, I'll look at the stage chat, see if there's any questions. Nope. Okay. So move on to, sorry. This is, we have a new settings tab. So it's similar from a design hierarchy approach. It's pretty similar like the Apple iOS like settings where you have the icon, the type, and you have a arrow that would take you to, it would end other modal. So we have light mode, dark mode, that type would switch out depending on what setting you're on. Currency, got this little currency icon. Right now it's selected at USD. If you clicked on that, you would get this list of all the currencies. You could also search. USD is currently selected on that. So if you hit back, you go back here. There's the language. So right now, got a little globe icon. It's currently English. If you wanted to change it, you'd hit that. And you get this list of languages. You could also search whichever one you are. If you hit the back icon, back at settings, and we added, Bethany might want to chime in a little bit on this, but we add this balance threshold section to the settings, and basically you can type in which assets you want to see at what value. We also have a little info icon to help describe that. I don't know, Bethany, if you want to talk about it.
This was a request that came in a couple different ways, but the idea is that sometimes people have transaction IDs for assets that they no longer have value of, but because they have a history on that asset, we display it in the web app. But a user might not necessarily want to see, a bunch of assets that they no longer have balances of, or they might not want to see assets that are below a certain amount. Like if you have like 0.05 of something. So the idea is that you would be able to set a threshold here to hide anything below a specific value that you set. And that little tooltip next to balance threshold will explain to the user what that actually does. This was a request that came in originally to be on the dashboard, but because there are multiple places in the app where you could see assets, like on the accounts setting, on the account screen, we decided that this actually makes most sense as a global setting.
All right. Cool. So we're gonna, so for settings, I'll look if there's anything on the stage chat. Oops. No. All right, cool. Gonna go over to the transaction history. And we got some like filtering updates on that. If I can find it. Too many windows open. All right, cool. Oh, so we did mobile. So this phone popped up, but we have the whole mobile build out, and you can see if you click and expand, just kind of stacks everything down. Make it a little bigger. So thinking, mobile first, going that route. So it's that. But seeing the transaction history before, we kind of cleaned up some of the grid systems in this design. Also, everything says view on chain. Before we had to and some, we took that out. So this day says it once because you made there's multiple transactions in one day. Otherwise, you just click on that. We have this filter. So if you tap on the filter, you have day range and categories. So if you open those drop downs, you can select 10 through custom. You can only select one on a day range. That's why we have the radials. And on categories, you could do multiple. If you hit apply, you'd apply the filter. But if you hit custom, you get these two date pickers pop up. So if you tapped on one of those, you get your pick your days, and you can filter transactions based on your own time range. If you tapped on a row, it would expand, and you get kind of the basic information that you expect: TXID, order route, transaction type, how much you sent, where you sent it to, where it was sent from, gas fees, and if it was confirmed. And it would kind of look like this on like an asset details or smaller screen within the app. And we base this off a 5-column grid system, so it kind of breaks down at those certain breakpoints. So it's all responsive. You saw the mobile, and this is the mid view, and then you saw the full view. And that is all I have to share. I'll look at the comments.
Cool. Thanks, Hoff. And that the transaction history screen is already actually being worked on, I believe, by a bounty hunter. So there were just some additional details that we were blowing out for the responsive behavior and then those filters to allow the user to search that Hoff was showing off. But yeah, hopefully we'll have that soon since it's already being worked on. Cool. Thank you, Hoff. Next up, Beard is going to show us the awesome design guidelines he's been working on in our efforts to ramp up on bounties. And yeah, I'll hand it off to him.
Yo. Share screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay, so we've been trying to transition stuff over to Figma to allow people to easily build our UI basically if they're working on stuff. So We started off with a chakra like design library. So you have pretty much every like main component or building block that we're currently using in Chakra. So alerts, inputs, buttons, all that jazz. So I took this library and I built our new Foxy UI with it. And then this is something basically someone can come in and go, oh, I have a UI that's similar to this. So I'll go grab this component, this modal, I'll take it and I'll be able to like build whatever I want with it and change things. So it's cool because it allows us to like dictate, okay, like this thing specifically has 24 pixel padding on the outside, which you can see here on the bottom and the top. You can also see like the actual code. So over here on the right, you can see it's all built on Flexbox. So any engineers in the audience will know this. So you can see like exactly this is using flex, row, space between. So all this stuff is fully scalable. So I can drag it, move, and it just scales with it, which is super cool. All the buttons have different states, which is super easy to use, which over here you have your variants tab. You can change the state to, active, hover state, or the default state. And then from here, you'll be able to change the color. I plan on like kind of wrapping this up with a bow. Like these are all the primary buttons that we use. These are the colors we use because there is a lot of options for that. And Figma has this thing called auto layout, which is super rad. So if I wanted to like grab this available claim block and just drag it into here, I just do that, tell it to fill the container, and boom, now I have a new component within my layout that's perfectly spaced, exactly based off our guidelines. Everything here is also using the predefined text styles, text font sizes. So I think we go up to like 5XL, 6XL. And then even smaller than that. So you can change font sizes on stuff and it should just scale. And once you hand this off to an engineer, it should be plug and play for the most part for any engineer to build off of. So it should be pretty cool for people to pick up. So that's pretty much it. I'm still kind of evolving the design system to match everything we do. And I want to like make these primary components that we use, like the primary buttons, the ghost components, all the stuff, all the button styles that we use. So all you have to do is drag that one button out and it's already basically designed for you. Any questions about this? Is there a link to the Figma? Not yet. We'll get that out here soon.
Yeah, we're trying to get that ready soon. As you guys may recall from last time and some of the other conversations that have been happening, the YAT integration bounty, we have collaborated with Linum Labs, who is going to take on that bounty. And we had a call with YAT yesterday to kind of go over some additional details and milestones on that bounty. And in our handoff to Linum Labs, we are going to be handing them this Figma file. So I'm sure we'll hear some feedback and see if there's any additional components that they need as they work through the UI UX. But yeah, this is kind of why we're doing this right away, so that because that's a big bounty and we want to make sure that this is in their hands and that they're not guessing when they're trying to draw components and things like that.
Yeah, the idea right now is to identify shared components or components that are used a lot in our current design, build those out in these Figma files. So anyone can just go grab these. So modals and asset details page probably would be really useful. Any tables we have, any of those kind of like main components that people would actually want to use to build out a UI, in addition to the like existing Chakra like inputs and alerts and stuff. So it'll be an ever evolving document basically for people to go grab stuff.
Cool. Thank you, Beard. Let me just see. I don't think there's any other questions. But LPX, once we have the link, we can definitely share it. Cool. And again, the link to that Figma will be in our Notion. So for anybody who needs it for anything, they'll be able to grab it at any point. Cool. All right. Next, we have Gray Machine. Hopefully he can see. There. I invited you to speak. He's going to show us some cool stuff he's been working on.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe do a quick screen share here. I am sharing desktop 1. Okay. So my focus over the last couple weeks, now that we're back from ETH Denver and all the materials and videos are out for that convention, I'm kind of diving into the backlog of design projects. And one was getting our Twitch package updated, which hasn't been a huge, like, it's not like a high priority thing. But you know, we've had this nice looking package on Twitch, but it doesn't really match anything that we it just doesn't match our brand. But I like the idea of it. I'm trying to see if I can bring that up here. Twitch. I was watching Kit Boga on Twitch earlier, so make sure I'm not going to pull up his page. All right, well, I don't want to like divide by 0 here and screw things up, so I'll just assume that you can either pull up the existing Twitch package or just kind of take a look at it. But it had a similar vibe to this, but I just wanted to kind of redesign it so that it fits our brand and just has, you know, components that we own and are that we control. So we got a couple different layouts here. In fact, we just had a meeting earlier today, met with Mr. PTT about how to start properly formatting these so that we can drop content into. Why am I not seeing? Oh, I'm not seeing it because I need to look at the preview. So we need to have sort of like cutouts, transparency where the video is going to go. And we'll be able to drop the live streams right there behind it. And then there's like a chat window kind of thing over on the side here. So this, we're going to start testing this very soon, and hopefully we'll be deploying this. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to get this out next week. So that's basically that. There's lots of little things kind of in motion here. I dive into this main office layout composition, which has to render. Tried to just put lots of little details of like what you might find in an office. I grabbed one of the ETH Denver badges. There's our little unicorn guy. Little things on the wall over here. I think this Steam. Well, it's trying to render everything right now, but that steam's kind of going right there. The plants are kind of wobbling. So just lots of little details. And then there's a little window to the world here. And if we jump up one level from where I am now, then we have our the sort of Northern Lights landscape, Aurora Borealis design as made by Huff. And lots of little sparkly things and stuff like that. So sparkles kind of happening outside with the Aurora. So not too busy, but just some details kind of tucked into corners of the design. So we'll get that out. Like I said, hopefully come in very soon. And then again, because I'm not like, well, again, I guess we're trying to dive into other projects. I kind of wanted to touch on something that I think is a good idea, where marketing has created a dedicated Notion page to for making requests of. I mean, it doesn't have to be specifically creative services group; could be anybody. But it's a nice central place to kind of organize requests for. I've got a social media campaign or a proposal or something like that, stuff that we want to get out on Twitter, Reddit, Telegram, Discord, etc. Right here on Notion, there's a nice little, whoops, sorry, my magic mouse is not working well with me. And I'll drop the link for this, but you know, somebody could, if you have access to this page, you could nicely, you know, make a request for, you know, yet another quote from Willie, and you could assign a designer, and you could say, you know, where it's going to go, and just throw some notes in there, and then I'll see that, and then we'll drop it in here for review, and once it's reviewed and ready to go, we'll queue it up, and then yeah, that's really about it. Now, we're trying to get more designers involved with this, and one thing I had experimented with is something called, it used to have a better name. This used to be called Adobe Spark, which is kind of a cool, snappy name, and they changed it from Adobe Spark to Adobe Creative Cloud Express. Their marketing team does this all the time, where they get so caught up in the naming that they ruin the name. But Creative Cloud Express is, from what I know, I mean, I have a Creative Cloud subscription, but Creative Cloud Express is actually a free, simplified version of some of their tools. And I had experimented with making one of these quotes in Creative Cloud Express right here. So it allows you to put some text and throw in elements, drop in a background. And they have a interesting interface to show layer selection, which is this like 3D kind of pop-out view. So if I select this, wanted to change, oh, I can't edit it here. There's separate edit thing to edit text with over here. So anyway, you know, it's one of the things I struggle with, is we're trying to get more designers involved to make it a requirement to pay for Creative Cloud, which can cost between 30 to 50, or even if you're in a different country than the US, it gets actually can get quite expensive, more than $50 a month. So I was trying to make some templates like that. So if people did want to get more involved and had an interest in design but didn't have Creative Cloud, using Express might be a good way to go about that. So as we get requests in, and people are other designers that we can start tagging, that's something I want to start exploring. It's not always the best way. Like this one, you know, is like all these different, this Juno, Umi, Terra, Cosmos Hub proposal, you know, once you're working with multiple logos and having to import them all, I mean, I guess there's nothing stopping you from doing it. It just gets a little cumbersome if you're using a lot of different layers, but we'll try it. We'll see how it goes. And as far as I know, this can be shared with your Adobe library. So if somebody did design here, then I could, I could easily just grab a PDF and open that in Adobe Illustrator. But this also will show up in my Adobe libraries. You can see it right here, although After Effects does not support this type of thing. But it does show up in your Adobe library, and you can, I think, open it in Illustrator or Photoshop. So I think that's all that I've got. Let me do the thing where I jump back to this stage. I'm going to stop sharing and see if there's any questions or comments or anything.
There's definitely some comments.
Okay.
Cool. Well, that covers what we had to show you guys today. Actually, wow, we're wrapping up a little early. That's rare for us. If anybody has any questions they want to ask, feel free to jump up on stage or throw them in the stage chat. Otherwise, I guess we will see you all at the next. Oh, DeFi stuff. I see you. See. Okay, I invited you to speak. Hello. Hello again.
Yeah, so I just had an idea that I thought may interest you. So a common I suppose, pain point when utilizing Shapeshift is that you have to basically remember and paste in the public keys of the people you're sending money to. What would you think of Shapeshift being able to store keys that have been used in the past and assign a name to them? That way it would be much more human readable, and it would lower the probability of someone making a mistake and sending the wrong person money.
I really like that idea. We actually were just talking about something like that with the Yat team yesterday. I think it's just going to come down to what a feature like that would require, since we don't have a backend. Maybe Beard could speak more to whether a functionality like that would be possible without a backend. But yeah, I agree that would be an awesome feature to have.
I mean, I suppose you could just store it on the user's device and allow them to send it to other devices they own, although I imagine that would be a pain. So,
but yeah, a way to, I mean, maybe there's a way we could use like just like local storage. I don't know. I'm not technical enough to answer the question, but the idea of, yeah, if you've used an address before, you know, and then you're going to send to that same address, the fact, if we could like show a list even of addresses that you've previously sent to, that would be awesome. We were talking about that yesterday with the Yat team, because it would be nice, you know, if you're, because, you know, all of these Yats are all these custom emoji strings. If the browser or if the web app could remember, you know, the Yats you've previously sent to, because they can be kind of a pain to type. But yeah, that's a really cool idea.
all
From
right.
a product perspective, we've kind of like designed the send flow to kind of handle that exact thing. So implementing it is another thing. We'll have to figure that out.
All right. Well, I'm glad it's under consideration. Thank you.
If there isn't anything additional, we can definitely wrap up early. It looks like there's a few people commenting that Perklin's discussing Fox Chain and E1 right now, which might be worth some of our time to listen to.
Oh yeah, definitely. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. And yeah, always feel free if you have any questions to post in the product public chat.